Happy Friday! It is the Prop Queen, Ariel Epstein, taking you until 6 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Prop Queen Pod. I was just tweeting out that we are live, and I totally forget Taylor Bicht's X page, but he's going to be joining the show from sixscore.com. We're going to talk about NFL injuries, how to take it. There it is, flyer on the wall at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, talking NFL injuries and how to bet props in regards to them. Talking NFL injuries and props. I'll just leave it at that. Because if you guys remember that he came on the show a few weeks ago and we talked about how to use sixscore.com, and you can use it to benefit any kind of injuries on the field. You can use it to benefit yourself by using sixscore.com, and we'll show you guys how it works again. And you could use Prop Queen as a promo code to get a discount. We're also going to be joined like we are every Friday by Mid-Major Matt. He's going to talk college football. We've got Major League Baseball World Series Game 1. Mark must be excited. Happy Jays Day. What'd you say? FYI, next week is like the Super Bowl for horse bettors. So I'm actually going to bring on not Samich, a good friend of mine, and actually somebody on social media introduced me to him. I'm going to tell you his name, but let me see. So my good friend Sam Panayadovich. Oh, there it is. My good friend Sam Panayadovich is friends with him. Hold on. I'm so bad. I have to remember his name, but we're going to get a ponies guy on. Sam raves about him, and anyone who Sam thinks is good at something must actually be good at it. I got a new phone, and now all of my group chats are all messed up. Messages with Sam Panayadovich. What is his name? Colin. Sorry, Colin. That was mean of me. Colin Sheen. So Colin Sheen is going to be on the show next Thursday, and we will talk ponies. So we got Breeders' Cup. I understand. We will definitely be talking Breeders' Cup on Thursday. Just a heads up, a week from now, I will be in Aruba. So I will not be here. Don't stalk me. Don't find me. So we're going to be, Tom Vecchio is going to host the show next Friday. And then the week after, it's going to be switching off between Tom and Mid-Major Matt. So the two of them are going to be switching things back and forth while I am enjoying the beach. Now I'm sidetracked because I'm just thinking about me right now in a week. Literally, my friend just asked if I want sushi today. Literally thinking about how right now is the best time of the day in Aruba. It's like 5 o'clock, sunset, happy hour. That's where I'm going to be in a week from now. Sorry, guys, but I can't wait to leave you all. It's going to be fantastic. But okay, today, World Series Game 1 is also going to be fantastic. We've got the NBA tonight. We've got NHL tonight. And on Monday, we are going to have a sports equinox. Alert, alert, alert. Sports equinox on Monday. We're going to have Monday Night Football with the Commanders and Chiefs, who don't have a quarterback, the Commanders. We've got a lot of NHL, some NBA, and the World Series is going to be on Monday. So Monday is going to be a big sports equinox night. So everybody get excited for Pickett. I'm going to be doing a little sports equinox SGP. Going to need some help with some hockey guests. Tom Vecchio feels like a good Monday guest too, but we're going to have him probably at some point earlier next week. Monday is always going to be Mid-Major Matt and Jared Block. Jared will be really helpful, and Matt will be very helpful as well. Super equinox. Oh, and you even have an MLS game on Monday night, Joe Quill says. That's pretty cool. It's going to be fun. The World Series is interesting because I thought we would get a little bit of line movement, and we have not gotten any line movement on FanDuel. Looking at the FanDuel Sportsbook odds for the World Series, it was Blue Jays plus 130 and Dodgers minus 154, even before the Blue Jays announced Trey Savage as the starter, which I thought was a little fishy too, because I feel like if it was Gossman, the line should maybe – if it was Gossman, I think he should have at least gotten like 5-cent move or something, maybe 10-cent move, and you give him plus 120 for being a veteran. So I guess it makes sense it didn't move at all. But I don't know. I thought maybe it would like move a little bit against the Jays because it's a rookie getting a start in the World Series. But he's been great, Savage. He's been great. The way that I was talking about the World Series on the Ringer was really, if you want some value, if you like the Dodgers, you go bet them to win Game 1 and the World Series, which is even money. At least it was yesterday. If you like the Jays tonight, you could get them at like plus 310 on FanDuel to win Game 1 and then the Dodgers to win the World Series if you like the Jays tonight but the Dodgers overall. Just letting you know, I think the stat was like 68% of teams to win game one go on to win the World Series. But both these teams could do something for the first time since the 90s. The Jays could just win a World Series, and the Dodgers could be the first team to go back-to-back winning a World Series since my Yankees back in the late 90s. Rest in peace to my Yankees. Also announced today, Lamar Jackson is going to play on Sunday. Woo, woo! The Ravens were 4.5 before Lamar started practicing on Wednesday. The Ravens were 6.5 yesterday, and the official announcement has my Ravens now 7-point favorites at home against the Chicago Bears, who are going to be without some big members of their defense, including their secondary. So I'm very excited to finally watch my Ravens and be a little nervous about this game on Sunday. Maybe there's a chance. I said it when they announced their hype video today. I said, Ravens, Snoop Huntley. Hell yeah. Snoop's going to be the backup quarterback for Lamar. Finally. The first NL team to go back-to-back since the late 70s if the Dodgers win it. That's a pretty cool stat. So anyway, I'm very glad that the Ravens actually have a shot and they have a fighting chance. I think that it was really nice of them to know how talented they really were, that they decided to tank to make it a little bit more difficult of a season, because if they didn't, then it would have been such an easy season, right? It would have been so easy for the Ravens this year if they didn't start behind at 1-5. So they didn't want it to be that easy. They wanted a little bit of a challenge, because they always say that you should be battle tested before you go to the Super Bowl. That's how the Ravens, that's why they're 1-5. Not because. So yes, Lamar's a question. Okay, come on. He's questionable. He practiced on Wednesday. He practiced in full today. Lamar doesn't practice on Wednesdays at all. He practiced in full yesterday and today. I think he was limited yesterday, practiced in full today. Lamar's playing, guys. The line already moved again. He's playing. The questionable tag is so stupid. And Tyler Huntley's the backup. They wouldn't have changed that and elevated Tyler Huntley from the 53-man if Lamar wasn't starting. Use noggin. Zay, baby. We'll see. I don't know who on the Ravens receiving core I like, but I think that the run game's going to go strong. You got to use Henry. The only thing not questionable is Lamar Jackson and Ariel's picks. Thank you, Joe Quills. Thank you. Derrick Henry and Lamar should go off against the Bears, but of course, you could go longest reception prop with the Bears without some key members of that secondary. You could look at a Zay longest reception. I have to dive in more. But I do have some NFL props that we'll get to in the Prop Queen Edges. One prop moved against me since Wednesday, and I'm very shocked about it. So we can talk about it later in the show. I've got NFL early edges later. I've got NBA props for later. One prop that I don't like anymore that I did give out this morning in the premium newsletter. But now Domantas Sabonis is available. So the props changed in that game for what could look good. But I do have a trend in case there are games without Sabonis. Also worth noting in the NBA tonight, Kristaps Porzingis is out tonight for the Hawks. They're taking on the Orlando Magic. That line moved for Porzingis from -4.5 Magic to -6 Magic with the Hawks without Porzingis. He has pods, which is actually something my friend has. My friend Dan, you could give him a follow. He works in the betting world. He's a very sharp guy. My Dan Livschatz is his name. And Dan has this, and he's like, it sucks. Like, his career's over. So there's a chance that Porzingis can't play like he used to, especially at the capacity he did and the quantity of games that he could play, because it exhausts you and it makes you lightheaded. So very tough stuff to hear about Porzingis, but it is going to help us in the props market a little bit later in the show. But helping us with the prop market now, you know him, comes on every Monday and Friday. We're going to talk college football. We've got World Series. This is our favorite time of year, except that it's really hard to bet the World Series. Mid-Major Matt joining the show. Matt, I'm excited as a fan for the World Series. I don't really have any skin in this game. I don't care. What are your thoughts just about the series in general?
I'm not excited. I mean, we're just delaying the inevitable. I took the Dodgers at, I think, plus 345 before the postseason began to win the World Series. So, I mean, that's the only technical, because they were just so much better than everybody else. We forgot about that. The regular season, they were human, but they were also injured a lot. And then they showed against the Phillies, and then they showed against the Brewers. They have 5 starting pitchers that they can use who are awesome. They have a lineup that's deep, and they figured it out that they don't have to use their bullpen if the starters are going far. So, that's why I did it, because they're the best team in baseball and it's not even close. And so like, that's why, I mean, I'm excited because it's the World Series, but like this thing's going 5. I have Dodgers in 5.
Do you like the Dodgers tonight?
I think that Toronto takes one of these first 2 games. I don't know if it's tonight. The rookie's interesting. The rookie was bad against Seattle that first game and then was awesome the second game against Seattle. He was awesome against the Yankees. So I see 2 scenarios tonight. I see him pitching really well and going 5 innings and the Blue Jays bullpen blows it, or he gets rocked, can't handle can't handle everything surrounding this game. Remember, he was an A-ball to start the season, and now he's starting game 1 of the World Series. So like, I don't know. He has such a wide range of outcomes that I don't want to try and guess what he's going to do tonight.
I'm very torn. This line, and I was saying this earlier, hasn't moved, at least on FanDuel. It stayed Jays plus 130, Dodgers minus 154. It's been that way even after Savage was announced the Toronto Blue Jays starting pitcher tonight. You do have a way that you are going to play this, and you are laying some hefty juice for it. You're going Dodgers, Toronto, under 2.5 runs in the first 3 innings, minus 154. How come it's worth the juice?
Savage has been very good the first time through the order. He allowed 1 run during the regular season the first time through the order, and then in that first Seattle start, he got rocked a little bit. But other than that, like first time through the order, and I've seen the Dodgers struggle with new pitchers, and I've seen the Dodgers struggle the first time through the order until they figure somebody out. Nobody's faced him before. I think Shohei could strike out against him tonight. So excuse me. I just had a little bit of soda before I came on. It's coming up on me here. So yeah, I just think
you're throwing up over laying minus 154 on a World Series.
Well, that too. But I had to play something tonight. And so this was the best I could do because I was disappointed we never got the 4.5 on Savage in his strikeout prop. I can't take the over 5.5 because I don't know how long he's going to be.
Would you fade Blake Snell tonight against the Jays? Strikeout.
So I did fade him against the Jays during the regular season, and I lost that. Yeah, I lost it. He had what, 12, I think, in 6 innings, 5 innings. So like, my problem is I'm gonna want to take the Blue Jays at some point in the under for the strikeouts of maybe Yamamoto. I would probably look at the under. Snell, I just can't. He's really nasty, and like I just think that he's gonna have
Jays
more.
Jays have been good against lefties this year. It's just crazy that Snell's been that much better.
Yeah, Snell has just been awesome, and he's going deeper in games.
But like, I hate Blake Snell because at any moment this guy could implode.
He could, and that's why the 17.5 is interesting. I mean, you've heard it and you've seen it. I played the outs overs for the Dodger starters like religiously the first couple.
Obviously, because the only way to keep a starter in the game these days is if your bullpen sucks, which the Yankees don't understand that. But the Dodgers at least have learned their lesson, Dave Roberts.
Which Dave Roberts, as bad. I don't love him as a manager, but he figured it out. My bullpen's not very good. I'm keeping my starters in 7, and then I'm going right. And then I'm going right to Sasaki for 2 innings if I need to, and then I don't have to even use any of the other guys. So like that's why. And so I was disappointed that I lost that bet because I don't want to take Snell over to go 6 innings tonight because I think he could have a little trouble with this Toronto lineup. Look, I think Toronto's lineup can slug with LA's lineup, but the problem is starting pitching, and Toronto's bullpen doesn't have enough of an edge over the Dodgers bullpen for me to be like, oh, that's great. Late innings, I think we can win this game. That's why I'm scared about this.
Mark, and I know you say I always fade the public. We'll talk about propaganda a little bit later in the show because Blake Snell is part of that list, and we'll get to why I wouldn't mind fading him. I want to see the updated numbers on Snell's 6.5 Ks. I don't know. I think it's really hard because they're going to try to leave him in as long as humanly possible. 6.5 under is minus 122 on Caesars right now. Minus 123 on DK.
I can't do it. I mean, as I said, I already lost with this bet in the regular season. Now it's regular season, but it's one of those things.
I feel like we're going to be on that. I feel like we're going to be on it tomorrow for Yamamoto, but I'm nervous that they're going to give us a 3.5.
No, they're not giving us a 3.5.
If Snell goes deep and they have a rested pen, they might.
No, if he had a less strikeout filled postseason, maybe, but he's had 7 and 9 in 2 of his 3 starts. We're getting a 5.5. Yamamoto is going to be 5.5 tomorrow, and I think they're going to
5.5. Heavy juice to the under on that. Come on.
No, I actually think they'll juice it to the over. I think they'll juice it to the over. I think it's
I think we
five
have to
and a
see what
half.
happens today with snow.
Yeah, but I'll take under 5.5 on Yamamoto.
Hell yeah, I would take under 5.5 again. Anything with 4.5 or under, 5.5 or 4.5, I would take an under.
Yeah, but I would not. If it was 3.5, I would hammer
Obviously,
the over.
I'm just saying that they're trying to get us to not bet it.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see how tonight goes. But I'll tell you, if it's 5.5, I'm probably taking the under.
Yeah, and that's, again, for everyone in the chat, in case you lost us a little bit, Yamamoto for tomorrow, we were looking at an under. Snell is 6.5 tonight. Both of us say we're a little bit afraid of that. Snell's been on absolute fire. Anything else on the World Series before we move into college football?
I mean, I heard you talking about the other prop bet before we came on about picking who you think wins game one and then taking the Dodgers to win the World Series. It's not a bad way. I think that's how you got to get creative here in terms of if you like the Dodgers, there's just not a lot of value out there for all this sort of props.
Yeah, I thought Dodgers to win game one and the World Series at even money was a very nice price.
That's a very nice price. And I think that's why tonight is a toss-up. I think Toronto takes one of these first two, and then I think they go back to LA. And when we see that the Dodgers 3 is Tyler Glass now, and their 4 is Shohei, and the Toronto's 3 is Max Scherzer, and it's Shane Bieber, like that's where you'll see the difference in this series is going on later, that these two teams just don't match up.
Joseph Rodriguez said he's a little late to the show. What'd you think about the over on I was going to say snouts. Snell's out.
I mean, if you're going off the trends, you would take the over. I just hate that it's 17.5. I mean, as somebody who had taken regularly the 15.5s and the 16.5s with these guys earlier, because the books were slow to catch up to what Dave Roberts was doing. I mean, he's gone over 6 innings. He's gone 6 innings or more in, I'm doing quick math, 6 straight starts. And then, he went 5 innings in that start against Toronto at home back on August 9th, but he had 10 strikeouts in that game and he went 90 pitches. He went 103 last time out, but he's really rested. So I would lean to the over here, but I'm just afraid that, the full 6 innings here scares me a little bit.
Dodgers, Jays, 8:00 p.m. Eastern time. It's game one of the World Series. But this weekend, Matt, we do have college football. And of course, you're going with these mid-majors. You're going with teams that we wouldn't normally be betting on. Then we'll dive in. And if you guys have any college football questions, you could write it in the chat. Matt will do his best to answer them. You could follow him on thepropqueen.com for the Mid-Major Matt college sports newsletter. And he's going to break down all his different college football edges. He's got another newsletter going out tomorrow about the games. But a little preview here, Charlotte team total under 17.5. How come we're fading the offense?
So Charlotte's really bad. They're 1-6. There's not going to be much of a crowd tonight in Charlotte. And this team has only gone over this once against an FBS opponent. They scored 26 at South Florida. And, that was one of those games where South Florida gave up 16 of those in the fourth quarter when the game was already in doubt. So, they didn't really care. But Charlotte has so many injuries. They've got wide receiver injuries, quarterback injuries, running back injuries, offensive line injuries. Their offense is just brutal. North Texas isn't great defensively, but they have to get style points in order to help them out in the G5 playoff race. And so far, they held UTSA to 17 points so far. They held Washington State to 10. They're not as good on the road, but they've faced some better offenses on the road. I just think this game screams 55-10 tonight in the short week.
We had a question in the chat before we get to your next one. Boise asked, should I go with the SD State opponent team total under?
Ooh, so we're going FCS on this one. South Dakota State and I believe North Dakota State this weekend, which is a huge game in the FCS level because let's be honest, the Dakotas run the FCS level. I haven't paid as much attention here, but if you look, North Dakota State has allowed 70 points in 7 games this season. South Dakota State has allowed 102. So usually this is a defensive game. It's in South Dakota State, so that's going to help out a little bit. But, the Bison are really good defensively this year. I don't know what the team total is. If it's somehow 17.5, I think that's I would take the under there. Make sure to try and get the key numbers because you want to make sure to get the best. Oh, he's talking about San Diego State. Okay. San Diego State and Fresno. That one makes a little more sense. I was rambling about the Dakotas battle. So here's the thing. San Diego State has a top 20 defense in the country. Really good defense. And so the fact that they're on the road scares me. And the fact that they're playing a team off their bye week always scares me because you can add wrinkles and you can change some things. But the only way to play San Diego State games are the team total unders. Their defense is just ridiculous. They brought back like 8 or 9 starters from last year. And the only teams that have gone over, I think it's like 22.5, 23.5. Colorado State scored 24 and Washington State scored 36. Everybody else has struggled to get there. So I would lean that way to the team total under, but make sure to get the key numbers.
How about Virginia on the road laying 10? That's the game against North Carolina, right?
Yes, it is. And go JMU, Lewis. Obviously, they looked really good. They're playing on Tuesday night. So that's looking forward to that down in San Marcos, Texas. I think this is UNC's last stand. For those who don't realize, now we all know UNC Duke is a huge rivalry in basketball. UNC and UVA in football is a humongous rivalry. I think it's like the top 3 most played rivalry in college football. So this is my last stand here. This is the last time I would consider betting North Carolina. If they show up in this game, like I think they can cover the 10. UVA's offense has been bad the last couple weeks. They've won games, which is good for them, but the offense hasn't shown up. The problem here is it's a noon game. And if Virginia's up 14-0 in the first quarter, everybody's going to leave. The students are going to leave. The fans are going to leave. It's going to be an empty stadium. UVA will win like 45-10. But I think this is an opportunity for North Carolina to do the last stand thing where they go, they try their best, they beat up on a ranked opponent. So my lean is to North Carolina plus the points here, but be ready to take Virginia live if early on you see the Wahoos moving the ball up and down the field, because then it's just going to be a blowout.
You also have another play that you were mentioning. So you mentioned the Charlotte team total under. North Texas, we love this market. Over 5.5 touchdowns, minus 135. How come we're going to see a lot of offensive production out of them?
So North Texas has one of the best offenses in the country, and they came off of scoring 55 against UTSA. They scored 45 at Army. They've scored 59 against Washington State. Like, they have a really good offense. And the only thing that worries me here is they're coming off of a short week when they played against UTSA. It's an in-state rival. It's my only worry. But like, Charlotte's defense is brutal. If you look at what the 49ers have done this season, they just gave up 49 at home to Temple. Temple's a good offense. They're not that good. They gave up 54 to South Florida. They gave up 35 to an FCS school, a really good offensive FCS school, but 35, that's a lot. So I think this Charlotte team that also has a lot of injuries on defense gives up a lot of points. There's a little bit of a cushion in the touchdowns market as opposed to the team totals market. It's a couple points difference. So I'm hoping that they score the 6 touchdowns here and get to 42 points. And that's why we're taking the touchdowns as opposed to the team total.
Sports Guru said Cal tonight, PQ.
I don't know why money's coming in on Virginia Tech. I have no idea. Virginia Tech is a team that has not shown much to us this season. The thing I like about Virginia Tech tonight is they're coming off a bye week. They played 7 games. They've got 5 left. Like, there's a clear definition as to the goals the rest of the season for the Hokies. I think Cal's the side here, but I don't know why the public is betting on Virginia Tech. This thing went from 5 to 6.5. So I maybe wait and maybe you get a 7 tonight. I don't think so. There's no injuries on either side that I think make a difference here. But like, I'm kind of scared to go up against the move because the public loves Virginia Tech so much. If this thing gets a 7, maybe I'm interested in Cal tonight.
Oh boy. Okay, so we've got some big games. I know that you are a mid-major Matt for a reason, but you also are very well versed in college football, and people love betting the big games. So speaking of the big games, we've got a few big ranked opponents going head to head. Which games will you be having your eye on?
So the spot of the weekend, and remember, I like to educate people. So for my my Saturday morning newsletter, it's all the spots, and it's basically like sandwiches, look aheads, hangover spots. The thing about the article is it's just to tell you what to look forward to, and it's not a guarantee. So we've given out spots before, and they haven't hit. You know, a team might be not focused, and then they eventually get focused and win the game. The spot of the weekend is SMU and Wake Forest. SMU coming off the road game at Clemson, a very nice win at Clemson. Granted, it was against their backup quarterback, but still very nice win in Death Valley. SMU comes home next week and hosts Miami for homecoming. Humongous game for the standings there, and an opportunity to deal Miami a blow for the ACC championship. Standing in their way is Wake Forest, and the Demon Deacons are coming off their bye week. SMU is dead last in passing defense. They allow the most yards per game through the air in the country. And my concern is Wake Forest's offense may not be able to necessarily take advantage of it, but a noon game for a school from Texas that has huge game next week, I would not be surprised if Wake Forest wins this game, which would then give us the over on 4.5 wins for Wake Forest for the season. We need just one more there. So that is the spot of the weekend, to say the least, is looking at Wake Forest against SMU. No guarantee it hits, but everything motivation-wise makes this a really tough game for SMU on Saturday.
I know you like your buy low, sell highs. You got everything in the newsletter. What can people look forward to in the newsletter tomorrow?
So tomorrow's just the spots, and we have a couple of them. There's a couple of sandwich spots, and there's a couple of look-ahead spots. Hangover spots. There was no actual look-ahead spots this week. I had a couple that were in the look-aheads, but then they turned into sandwiches because there was a game before. It's just a couple of spots to be aware of. Also, make sure to check out the weather. There are certain parts of the country that are going to have some rain, certain parts of the country that are going to have some wind, and make sure to check that out beforehand, because I think wind is a factor in a lot of games when you go against it, and that means you want to play more rushing type stuff as opposed to passing type stuff, but make sure to check that out. And look, the other thing is for college football, I think it gets a little quote unquote easier to handicap the sport in this respect. We are now 7-8 games in for some people. There's some people who already know they're not making a bowl game, they're not winning their conference championship, and they're going to give up. Like the bad teams in this country, this is about the time when they start showing a lack of effort. Players start wanting to transfer out of the program. So you're going to see when I post my plays on Saturday on my Twitter account, like you're going to see a lot of team totals against bad teams, because this is the time when the good teams rise up and they score a lot of points, and the bad teams just let a lot of points up because they're ready to go.
Uncle Ted made the point it's also conference games. How would you attack some of those?
Yeah, conference games, you want to look at the standings. This is where look-ahead spots come into play. Sometimes you might be playing a lesser team. Like, is Vanderbilt looking ahead to Texas next week, or are they fully focused on Missouri? Like, it's weird. Vanderbilt's never had this situation. They've been such a bad program for a long time. Like, this is a week where they could be coming off the win over LSU, and with Texas next week, like, are they fully focused for Missouri? College game days there. How do they handle that? We've seen some programs when they get college game day, they don't look as good game time. I mean, JMU has had college game day, I think 3 times, and is 1-2 in those games. Like, you have to be able to handle the extra pressure and all the attention. I don't know if Vanderbilt can handle that. So that's something that's really interesting. And then, of course, Joe pointed out on Twitter our trend that we talked about last week. Here's the thing. The Minnesota first quarter under hit last week. It's a bet that I'm always going to make. There are certain bets in all sports that I will make every single time, and I will adjust my unit size. And Minnesota's playing Iowa this week. Traditionally, that's a defensive game. It's a low-scoring game. It's for a pig, I think. They play for some rivalry in this game. I think it's called the Gavin of Rosedale. So this is an important game for both teams. The over-under is 7.5. Now, here's the interesting thing, and some of you are going to look at me weird. I paid a little bit more juice, a little bit more, to get the 9.5 on DraftKings. Now, here's the reason why. If, let's say, one of them scores a touchdown but misses the extra point and then they kick a field goal, I win under 9.5. Let's say somebody goes for 2 and it's 8 points, and you would lose the 7.5, but you wouldn't lose the 9.5. So I'm always looking to try and buy myself a little bit of protection within reason. It's so funny because the under 9.5 was like minus 135, I think I got it at. I posted it on my account. The minus 10.5 was minus 220, and I was not going to do that. I'm not that bad of a person when it comes to juice, but like, I'm always trying to buy myself a little bit of protection. So yes, we are on the under for the first quarter for the Minnesota game. It's one of the best trends the last 3 years in college football, but I bought it to 9.5 at like minus 135 instead of the 7.5, and just, hope that they don't, score more than a touchdown, a field goal.
Mid-Major Matt, make sure to give him a follow at Mid-Major Matt. Follow his newsletter at thepropqueen.com. You are always such a big help. Can't wait to see you Monday, and can't wait for you to host the Prop Queen pod when I'm gone in Aruba.
Yeah, next Friday on the best day of the year, Halloween. I heard how much you don't like Halloween, and we have to discuss that in the future, but not right now. But Halloween's the best day of the year.
Next week.
Best day of the year.
Okay, well, it sucks. Matt, you don't suck. Thank you so much for coming on. As always, good luck to those bets, and I'll see you on Monday.
Sounds good.
Now we've got to talk some NFL. We talked Major League Baseball. We talked World Series. We talked college football. Now we're going to talk NFL, and we're going to talk NFL injuries. There are a lot to get to today, a lot of different spots to take advantage of. It stinks when you see injuries. I'm going to put that disclaimer out there. I don't want anyone to get hurt. There is a way to take advantage, though, if someone's out. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, anyone on either side of the ball. It's going to benefit somebody. And that's why we refer to SixScore.com and Dr. Chow and his guys over at the site like Taylor Bicht joining the show. Hey, Taylor, how are you?
Hey, Ariel, how you doing?
I'm good. It took me a little bit of time to remember what your X handle was, but I think I remembered. It was like Fly on the Wall.
Flyer on the Wall 1. Yes, you got it. Yes.
Well, Flyer on the... Wait, let me find it. Flyer on the Wall. I think I spelled flyer wrong. Anyway, let's talk some injuries. So we've got some crazy injuries on the slate and some good ones too, because like, for example, my Ravens, Lamar Jackson, the quarterback, going to be returning. So is Roquan Smith.
Right.
Then on the Bears side, there are a ton of injuries. How would you approach this Ravens-Bears game?
That's perfect, Ariel. That's the game I was going to start with. So Bears, you have to look at them. Jalen Johnson, number 1 corner. He's on IR. He's already out. Now you have Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon both out. So if Lamar Jackson was going to come back to a perfect game, this is it, right? This is all 3 starting corners for the Bears out. So this is a big game on our prop calculator for Lamar. Big over. So Zay Flowers pops up too. He's one of the top wide receivers that popped up on our calculator, just because there's, like when we talked about, remember our formula, it's not just the health of the player, it's the health of everything around them, the wide receiver core, the quarterbacks they're playing. So big, huge Ravens offense game, it looks like, Ariel.
So Zay Flowers, you said?
Yes. Yeah, Zay Flowers, and I would do Lamar. That's a good little stack I would do if you're doing DFS. It might be a little expensive. There's a couple other players we'll talk about, but that's a huge advantage that you couldn't possibly not take advantage of.
What other games are you what's another game that has some injuries that we should be keeping an eye on?
All right, we'll start with everybody likes their overs, right? So let's go to that the Denver game I want to speak a little bit about. So Dallas Cowboys. So it's really easy to get an injury when you're on the field, Ariel, right? But we got Trevon Diggs getting concussion while he's at home. So he's got kids at home. I know that. So, I mean, there's different ways you can get that. But getting concussion at home on a weekend, it was Saturday, right before the game, he's going to not play again this week. So that opens the door up for Bo Nix. Bo Nix has had, strong games last couple games, maybe a couple less than 200, hasn't hit his prop. But this game, he has an advantage. So if you're going to do like some kind of stack or just focus on a couple of props, I would look at Bo Nix and I would look at Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton without the wide, Trevon Diggs there. Big opportunity for Sutton to take advantage of that pass game. The Cowboys don't play defense, right? So, I mean, they're getting a couple players back. Overshawn's big. But from a secondary standpoint, you got a huge game for the Denver Broncos.
The San Francisco 49ers are finally an underdog at +2.5 against the Texans. That's kind of making sense with these injuries. Yet every time I count out the Niners, they find a way to win the game. How much longer are the 49ers going to be able to win football games with all their injuries?
I wish I could tell you just from our formula stuff, you should be taking against the Niners every single week, right? But they're finding it away. Like every single time, like the Atlanta game, it really popped up in Atlanta. But for us, it's like, oh, we have the injury advantage, but they scheme really well. They're coached really well. They kind of just look past these injuries. And any other team, it wouldn't, right? You have no Nick Bosa. You have no Fred Warner. You have like top cornerbacks, injured. It's like, and Mustafa's not playing 100%. Like it's smoke and mirrors right now, Ariel. But I mean, I was going to tell you just by looking at this game, there's a lot of overs for Houston because there's so many injuries on this Niners defense. The running back room should take advantage. Woody Marks and Nick Chubb, but it's like kind of a toss because then you have Houston who has no wide receivers right now, Ariel. Nico Collins likely to miss with a concussion. Tank Dell hasn't played all year. And now Christian Kirk is, playing through his hamstring, may miss again. So it's kind of like we have a really good advantage, but does Houston have the offense to take advantage? It might be another way that SF might figure a way out of it again.
Atlanta, the quarterback situation, Michael Penix, we're not really sure if it's going to be him or Kirk Cousins. What are you guys expecting at SixScore.com?
So if you have a bone bruise, you saw with Brock Bowers, you're not supposed to play through that. Like you saw Lamar Jackson a couple years ago with his ankle with the bone bruise. It's more of just sitting it out and letting it recover. So I'm seeing all signs that he's playing. So that would mean more. I don't think he's going to be effective. that's actually good from a prop perspective if he's going to play for us, because we can take advantage of that. He's already not mobile. Remember, he's had multiple surgeries on his knees, so he barely moves in the pocket. But this is something that he's not going to play well with either if he does play through, like he's saying. I wouldn't like London this week. I wouldn't like Penix. They should lean towards Bijan Robinson, so not injury related as much. But I mean, like you said, I would rather play Cousins. I think from a betting's perspective, I would rather see Cousins out there at this current moment. Maybe you have better props with Kyle Pitts and stuff with Cousins out there, but right now, Ariel, it looks like Penix is trying to play. For us, we should take advantage and do the unders on a lot of the stuff related to Atlanta.
Giants, Eagles, big rivalry. These two just saw each other a couple of weeks ago. There have been a lot of rumblings that Saquon Barkley doesn't look like his normal self in Philly at running back. How much do you guys say or speak about Saquon's health?
So we do a big report in the offseason to get ready for the season. And that was one of our big unders this year. Saquon had so much mileage last year, Ariel. He had 400 plus touches. They got it. It was worth it, right? You won a Super Bowl out of it. But this year we took the under on his prop, and we were under on a lot of games this year. And this is also leading to injuries now. You have Landon Dickerson is playing through an injury. Cam Jurgens is not going to play. That's their starting center. So there's a lot of stuff pointing to, again, Barkley having a bad game. It's not necessarily his health. Remember, we talked about it's the health around stuff. Like his 6 score is a high 92, 93, but it's about the overall game they're playing. I mean, Jalen Hurts just hit his props last week for the first time in multiple weeks, right? There's a lot of offense. That offense is not explosive, right? This is like the Chiefs a couple years ago where they're barely beating people, right? So, and then I'm just going to add AJ Brown. Now AJ Brown how is that going to affect? Do they lean more towards Barkley, but with this offensive line being hammered, maybe offensive line, it's not going to be a good game. Is Devontae Smith going to go off? He went off against, Minnesota, right? So that's a weird one, Ariel, but I would be worried about Barkley again this week.
Who would you turn to in Philly with AJ Brown out in the receiving core?
So I was going to talk about, I wanted to do a couple tight end unders, but remember, this is National Tight End Week. I don't think anybody should be doing any tight end unders this week, right? So Dallas Goedert is one of the big players that does well during these weeks. So I like him. His injury, he'll play through. Devontae Smith should have a big matchup again. A lot of the Eagles stuff is popping up on there. The Giants have no Paulson Adebo, right? They're one of their top corners. So there should be some advantage for the Eagles in the pass game. So that's a weird game, though. That's going to be a divisional matchup. Might be a rock fight. It might be an explosive, crazy game. You never know.
Mark's a big Niners guy. He said it is tight end week. How about George Kittle?
George Kittle, I'm all for George Kittle. Remember, he's the leader of tight end U with Travis Kelce and Greg Olsen. They're the ones that started it. So if anybody's going to have a big tight end week, it's going to be him. He's passionate about this subject. You also have to look at situations. Does the head coach even give a crap, right? I feel like some coaches are ready for looking at the game. They're trying to win the game. They don't care about all this BS tight end week. Like the little goober coaches, the Eagles coach and Shanahan, they love their guys. They want to make sure they get their ball this game. So Kittle is a guy that also usually does well in these this tight end week too. So yes, I would go over for that. Remember, he had the hamstring injury last week. It might have been a week too early. He was asked to block a lot with their offensive line issues, so he didn't really get much in the pass game. This is another week better, plus the tight end week. I would be all over Kittle this week.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a ton of injuries, including no Chris Godwin, no Mike Evans. How should we approach the Bucs?
So what we've been doing is it's the offensive line, which has really been big. Wide receivers have been trickling late, but it's hard to take under on Baker. He's a warrior, right? You could put 5 random people out there as a wide receiver and he would go over his prop, right? So, and even Igbuka's playing through his injuries and he's getting his props too, just because of the situation. Once Evans went out in that last game, who's he going to throw to, right? And they were chasing a bit. So Igbuka pops up. For me, it's all about going the under on the run game. Even before when Bucky Irving was healthy, he wasn't getting his props. He was rushing the ball 20 times and still not getting his prop. I would still go under on Rashee White. I don't see he's not the better running back, more of a pass catching back, but this offensive line isn't helpful for this run game. So I'm scared to go unders on the pass game, even though our prop calculator says go under Baker, go under this, but I would definitely go under Rashad White.
Monday Night Football, it's Commanders, Chiefs. We already know that the Commanders are going to be without their quarterback, Jaden Daniels. How does that change things for the Commanders players?
One thing that's big is it looks like McLaurin and Debo Smith are going to try to play through their injuries, at least McLaurin. So Mariota, it looks like it's very hard for a player to jump into a game and be good. You saw he had the pick 6 right when he got in the game, but now he's a veteran. He has a full week of looking at reports and getting a game plan. So he should be a lot better. And if he has a healthy wide receiver core, I would see it's fine. I'm just worried that the Chiefs defense is really good and they took kind of a corner. The big thing, I guess, is Rashee Rice, right? So at 6 we've always not had we didn't worry about his injury, and it was more about the criminal charges in the back end and stuff. But once he's healthy, he's fine. It's completely changed their offense. He had 2 touchdowns last week, not as much usage, right? A couple 5 or 6 catches, 37 yards, but that's going to completely change everything. Now you have Worthy as the 2, as the field stretcher. The running game can open up. So I think this is more like Chiefs should be able to attack. Washington has a lot of injuries on defense. This seems like a big overs game for Rice. Maybe the running back situation's weird, right? When it's a 1A, 1B, it's hard from a prop. Do you pick Pacheco? Do you pick Hunt? But it seems like a big Chiefs taking a corner, big, huge offense for them.
What other games have I potentially left out that you wanted to touch on? Because I know you always have this long list of props going into Sunday that is because of injury benefits.
Yeah, I have a couple here. I'll talk about Chase Brown is a big one. He's been a lot of people I saw bet his over in the start of the year because it's just from a usage standpoint. He was going to be the guy, right? It was like 900 yards. He hasn't done good this year. It's because their offensive line has been banged up. They get their right guard completely back now, so it's only one position in the offensive line, so it's a lot healthier. And they're playing, I believe it's the Jets, right? The Bengals-Jets game. Yeah, Jets have a lot of issues on their linebackers, secondary issues, not as much concerning Chase Brown, but I see a huge Chase Brown game for the Bengals. I also, a lot of Flacco is popping up too. This seems like a game that the Bengals, it seems like they could save their season. As Doc is more on the Joe Burrow side, we may be pessimistic on him maybe returning, but just from their standpoint, they look like they have the division. If they let the Browns go and they have Steelers and Ravens, it's a battle. So I think the Bengals are going to treat this game as a really win or die. So I think a lot of Flacco, a lot of Chase Brown in this game. I want to talk maybe a little bit about the Colts. I love the Colts this year. A lot of their props are just like we've been hitting from our, health. They're very healthy. Jonathan Taylor has been the best running back in the league, and a lot of his props have been hitting. And Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren has a big matchup against Tennessee with their linebacker issues. His prop is starting to get a little high, right? It's slowly increasing because people are starting to realize he's one of the main guys in that offense. But that's one I like too. And then just a couple of unders. Tetra McMillan from what's it called, from Panthers, right? Yeah, he's it's just a new situation. Andy Dalton, I love Andy Dalton, but he's got a really hard situation to play this week against the Bills secondary that's really improved health wise. So yeah, those are a couple I had on my list. But yeah, like you said, Six Score has multiple insights and props, and you have that prop calculator, and we have that prop little start sit tool that we showed you last time. That's really helpful.
Yeah, super helpful. And I love the field views, seeing where all the injuries are on both sides of the ball. People always like to look, because they mostly bet offensive player props. People will always look at the offensive injuries, like, oh, Baker's going to be without his 2 receivers. People don't look enough about on the defensive side of the ball as to how to take advantage. So who are a few defenses, just to list off? I know you've given them out while you've been analyzing these props. Give us a few defenses for overs that we could be attacking offensively.
One we mentioned earlier that I couldn't say enough is the Bears defense. You can't do anything without their top 3 corners. So Flowers, Bateman, even Andrews, that should be a big thing. You mentioned the Niners already. That's a big one. Houston, just a lot of their stuff pops up. It's just a matter of picking the right thing because there's no wide receivers now. So maybe focus more on the running backs because you don't know really who the passing game. But I mean, there's going to be little sneaky things with Jalen Noel and Higgins. So watch that. Eagles, they're going to be completely fine. Yeah, those are the 2 big ones, Ariel. I got to look at my list here, but Washington's one too. Washington's a big one we talked about already too. They have a lot of defense issues on the D line and a little bit on the secondary. So a lot of the Chiefs stuff pops this week too.
So take advantage of those banged up defenses. You brought up my Ravens, and everyone on the chat knows that I'm a big Ravens fan. People saying that it could be the time to buy low on them. How much does SixScore.com, Dr. Chow agree that the Ravens are actually healthy, or are there still a lot of question marks with the injuries that they've all had, including Roquan Smith and Lamar Jackson?
No, you're totally right. You're on up and up because a lot of your stuff wasn't season ending, right? A lot of your stuff was like maybe 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It was just a wait out period. And now you're seeing the division kind of mesh up a little bit and you see there's still a way there. Normally, I know with your record, there's no possible way you would even talk about trying to make it. But this is the Ravens. You're supposed to be there and the health is completely turning. Ronnie Stanley, if he can ever figure out his ankle, he'll be completely fine, right? But he'll always play through. He's tough. But like you said, Roquan back. The secondary was a mess to start the year, right? With Humphreys, Wiggins, Awuzie as well. So a lot of the cornerbacks are back. Kyle Hamilton's back. You got Aloy Gilman in trade. So, I mean, it's sky's the limit. Yeah, like you said, the health it's a matter of winning the games, but your health has really increased the last couple of weeks, yes.
That's good to hear. It's a mic drop for me. Taylor Bicht, tell everybody where they can find you and what they can find over at sixscore.com.
You can find me on Twitter, Flyer on the Wall, and then all of our stuff is sixscore.com. We also have a guarantee this week, Ariel. We've done undefeated on our guaranteed picks. So go to sixscore.com and get a sick picks guaranteed week. Sign up, okay?
We love it. And use promo code PropQueen when you guys sign up for sixscore.com. Get all the advantages in the injury market. It's really super helpful. I use it all the time. Thank you so much, Taylor. Have a great weekend and good luck this weekend.
All right. Thank you, Ariel.
We've got the Prop Queen edges of the day. Time to start with propaganda. These are the most bet on props for the World Series, according to BetMGM. You guys know that I hate home run props. Ohtani to hit a homer. Vladdy to hit a homer. We'll bet Vladdy a different way. Blake Snell over 6.5 Ks at even money. George Springer home run. And Mookie Betts under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. Texans officially ruled out Nico Collins and Christian Kirk, by the way, just so everyone knows. That just was breaking by Adam Schefter. Okay, back to baseball. I can't bet overs. Can you get most bet props in the NBA? Let me see if they gave them to me. I'll take a look at my email and see if they posted them, and I'll look and see if he posted it to Twitter. But first, baseball. You guys know we do not bet overs against the Toronto Blue Jays. If you are pitching against the Jays, it is under or nothing. Blake Snell over 6.5 Ks, I can't get to because the Jays are one of the least strikeout-prone teams in baseball. They make the most contact in the league. The Jays have crushed lefties. And as much as Snell's been hot, it's under or nothing for me. So I will not be betting any overs. I hate home run props. George Springer, the reason that we were nailing those runs props in the ALCS wasn't because of Springer at home. It was because of the matchup. He matched up really well there. And Springer, hold on, I'll get the numbers up. It was like 80% of the time against Seattle. Yeah, it was like 80% of the time against Seattle, George Springer was scoring a run, and at home too. This isn't about, that wasn't about just George Springer at home, and I know he's been hot, but against the Dodgers, he's not as strong as he was against the Mariners. So just keep that in mind with the George Springer props. Mookie Betts under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. That's probably because people just know that Mookie's been struggling, but I am not going to do that. I will bet the over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI for Freddie Freeman tonight. Freddie Freeman has been on such a freaking tear in the World Series throughout his career. So in Freeman's let's just go with the World Series. So he's hit safely in all 11 career World Series games that he's played in. Freeman batting .310 with 6 homers in his last 7 World Series games. In Freeman's last 3 games in Toronto, which were last year, he had at least 2 hits, runs, and RBI in all 3 of those games. And against Toronto overall, went over 1.5 in 5 of his last 6. Freeman's also driven in a run in 7 straight World Series games. So if you would rather take a nice little close to 2-1, then you could be getting plus 175 on Freddie Freeman to go over 0.5 an RBI. As for the propaganda, you guys saw that Vladdy was one of the most bet on props to hit a homer. I would rather go Vladdy over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. He's gone over this in 70% of his home night games this year. Sorry, I was fixing the newsletter. He's gone over this in 70% of his home night games against lefties. So my only fear is that Vladdy's 2 for 11 against Blake Snell in his career. Snell's been great. Vladdy's been great. We're going toe-to-toe. But Vladdy's hitting .442, 6 homers, 12 ribbies in the playoffs. So if I had to bet a Vladdy play tonight, I would go over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. Let me see if, okay, hold on. Let me see if I can quickly find any kind of NBA propaganda tonight in case you guys want it for this big slate. John Ewing from BetMGM. NBA, college football, MLB, NFL. Oh, goodness. Come on. Nope, nothing there. I'll see if I got anything in my email from BetMGM real quick. NFL, World Series, nothing from NBA. Nothing in the props for NBA. Sorry, guys. No NBA tonight. Just NFL, MLB. Now I lost you guys on my screen. I have so many tabs open. Commit, flag 50. Okay, let's get into NBA props, though. We do have NBA props. These are the NBA props that I liked for tonight's slate, starting with Hawks at Magic. So it was announced that Kristaps Porzingis is out tonight for Atlanta. Who else? And I think Risser is also out tonight. So the forward for Atlanta. So there's like no size for the Hawks. Their defense sucks. The only thing that got their defense to be any better this year would have been Kristaps Porzingis. Who is guarding Pelo Banchero? Nobody. Over 24.5 points for him. He's gone over this in 5 of 7 games against Atlanta. At home last year, averaged 26 points a game. Someone's got to guard Wendell Carter Jr. anyway. Why did that, Wendell? I always see errors in my newsletter. You still have to guard center Wendell Carter Jr. The Hawks allowed the 4th most points per game to their opponents last year, and they still were bottom 10 even through game 1. So Pelo Banchero over 24.5 points. I don't see anybody guarding him tonight. That line also moved 4.5 to 6 with Porzingis out. Spurs at Pelicans. Harrison Barnes over 13.5 points plus rebounds. Barnes has gone over this in 8 of the last 10 facing New Orleans, averaging 16 points plus rebounds. On the road in New Orleans, Barnes went over 13.5 in all 5 games with 17 plus. The Pelicans allowed the 5th most points per game last year, still allowed the 8th most points per game through game 1 of the season. And New Orleans has also allowed the 4th most rebounds per game since last season. Harrison Barnes over 13.5 points plus rebounds. This number on Najee Marshall actually moved from 10.5 to 11.5, but I would still take the over 11.5, and 10.5 is minus 150. It was minus 110 this morning for Najee Marshall over 10.5 points plus assists. Marshall's gone over in both games against Washington with 23 and 14 points plus assists. At home, Marshall went over in 69% of games, averaging just under 16 points plus assists. Without Kyrie Irving last year, Marshall went over this 87% of the time. Washington allowed the 2nd most points per game and assists per game last year. Those defensive struggles, they poured into this season. After game 1, the Wizards ranked 26th in points per game and assists allowed. So we're going Najee Marshall over 10.5 or 11.5 points plus assists. I was given out this morning on the PropQueen.com newsletter DeMar DeRozan over 4.5 assists, but that was because I thought Domantas Sabonis was out. He's back in. But just for future reference, DeRozan averages 1 more assist per game without Sabonis. So if Sabonis is ever out, look to DeRozan over 4.5 assists. He averages about 5.5 with Sabonis out. Another risky play tonight, which I probably wouldn't get to the window on, but I am warning you that Jalen Brunson has and did play better last year on the road than at home. So his PRA is 37.5. And even last year without Jason Tatum, Brunson had 29 and 35 PRA. This is 37.5. One game was in Boston, the other was at MSG, and both went under. Brunson went under 37.5 PRA in 62% of games, including games without Jason Tatum. Brunson actually went over this prop more on the road, and the Celtics, their defense was good, but again, it's hard for me to bet unders against the Celtics when you're without Porzingis and without Tatum now. So I'm staying away. Y'all should know the drill. Reeves over 4.5 rebounds, no LeBron. Yeah, I was looking at Reeves tonight. The problem is that he's up against a good defense, and that's what scared me a little bit. I was trying to bet like a Reeves fade just because he went under Reeves, his points prop at least. Last year, Reeves went under his points prop in every game against Minnesota, even without LeBron. There were a few of them. But you could look to the rebounds prop for sure. That probably actually does better. Could look at props.cash for that. Anything else I left out? I have Royal Locks. Here, let's look real quick. I'll bring up props.cash and we could look at the Reeves rebounds because I don't think I looked at it. But remember, it's not just about the player or who's out on the offensive side of the ball or whatever. It's not just about the team itself. It's not just about the Lakers. It's also about the team he's up against. And you have to keep that in mind because Minnesota has been very good. But let's take a look over at Reeves. So head-to-head rebound. Ooh, over. Hell yeah. And that game is home tonight. Right? They're at home tonight. Yeah. Home against Minnesota did well. No LeBron. One game without LeBron at home against Minnesota went under. 2 of the 3 without LeBron overall went over. And in 2024, woo, look at that. 4 of 5 at home went over, and all of them except 1 went over last year without LeBron James. So your trend is obviously correct. It's just a matter of if you want to go up against Minnesota with that because they do have some size. So that would be the only thing that I'd be cautious of. But would definitely be fading his points. The Harrison Barnes play looks good. Thanks, Lewis. Good luck tonight, everybody. I'll tell you guys my Royal Locks. It's basically Sports Equinox. So I'm going to give you one play from each of my main sports, baseball, basketball, and football. Let's get to Royal Locks. Royal Locks of the day. We're going to start with the Freddie Freeman over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. Freddie Freeman has now gotten on in all 11 of his World Series games, hitting .310, 6 homers, and driving in a run in 7 straight World Series games. Freeman's had at least 2 hits, runs, and RBI in all 3 of his last games in Toronto and 5 of his last 6 overall against Toronto. So we're going to take Freddie Freeman tonight. Baker Mayfield, a very crazy stat. Oh, I didn't get to all of my NFL props. Crap. Okay. Baker Mayfield, a crazy stat. In his last 10 road games without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, Baker has gone under 245.5 passing yards in 9 of those 10 games, averaging 174 passing yards per game. So take a look at the Baker under. And then when it comes to basketball tonight, I'm going with the Paolo Banchero over. And I do like that Harrison Barnes, best bet. Oh, gosh, Najee Marshall. That over 10.5 or 11.5 points plus assists because he went over it in both games against Washington with 23 and 14 last year. At home, Marshall went over in 69% of games, averaging just under 16 points plus assists. Without Kyrie, which is something I don't think the numbers taking into consideration, Marshall went over in 87% of those games without Kyrie last season. And Washington just sucks. They're bottom 10 in every statistical category pretty much, and it's still happening this year. So Najee Marshall in a great matchup, over 10.5 points plus assists. I got sidetracked because I have this long list of NFL early prop edges that I totally forgot to give you guys. So Alvin Kamara over 19.5 receiving yards. I bet this last week and lost, so it should hit now. He shouldn't have lost that prop against the Bears. But this week against Tampa Bay, he's gone over Kamara in 2 of 3 home games against the Bucs, caught 3 catches for just 1 yard last week, so he should bounce back in the passing game. Tampa's allowed the most receiving yards per game to running backs at 62 per game. Miami's quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. This is probably my least favorite on the list, but the good trend to know. 0 quarterbacks have gone over their passing yard prop this year against Atlanta. 0. So keep that trend in mind because the Falcons defense has been very good against quarterbacks. Chuba Hubbard over 44.5 rushing yards. He's gone over this in 78% of home games last year, just under 86 rushing yards a home game. Had 73 last year against Atlanta. With Bryce Young doubtful with the ankle injury, it's going to be Andy Dalton under center for the first time this year. So give it to your running back. And Buffalo allows the 3rd most rushing yards per game to running backs at 116 rushing yards a game. We just talked about Baker. And then the one prop that I said in the beginning of the show that I can't believe is moving against me is Jalen Hurts. I got it at 29.5. I thought it would hit 30 by the time we hit the weekend, and it went down to 28.5. So that's a little fishy. So I don't know if you want to get ahead of a bad number, but I think it's a bad number. Hurts went over this in 10 of 11 home games last year, averaging 50.5 rushing yards a game. He only had 13 rushing yards against the Giants 2 weeks ago, but Hurts actually runs for 15 more yards at home than on the road dating back to the start of last year. Saquon looks like he's hurting. The O-line looks like it's hurting. Jalen Hurts is going to have to scramble. The Giants allow the 4th most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks at just under 28 a game. 5 of the 6 5 of the 7 quarterbacks to face the Giants this year went over their rushing yard prop. If it didn't happen in the first game, it should happen in the second game. So we're going to go over 29.5 rushing yards for Jalen Hurts. How about the Reeves over 4.5? I'll look. Let's see. Oh, wow. Tua really dropped. That's crazy. Yeah, it was 202.5 yesterday. So I apologize that I got you guys a late number. You want to know the Reeves assists? Still, Reeves assists look good too. He went over in all but one game without LeBron in the matchup. Only one against Minnesota, whereas the rebounds went over in 2 of 3. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to that, because Minnesota's got a great defense. So don't expect as much scoring with that Minnesota defense who's been top 10 in points allowed for the last couple of seasons. So again, with an assist, Reeves has to dish it out to someone who's going to finish. So maybe I lean rebounds there, but still, rebounds and assists have done very well for Reeves without LeBron on the floor. But again, remember, it's all about the matchup sometimes. Just keep that in mind. I hope you all have a great weekend. It is Friday. Time to pour wine. I want to make a steak. I think I'm going to make a steak tonight. Steak and some red wine. Treat myself. I'm staying in tonight because I'm going out all day tomorrow to watch college football games. It's going to be a great weekend, right? I hope so. Good luck to all your bets, guys. Happy World Series. Happy Sports Equinox. When we're back on Monday, it's the actual Sports Equinox, as all the 4 major sports are going to be live in action. So we'll definitely put a little parlay together with Jared Block, and we'll see with our SGP of a Sports Equinox what we can do on Pickett and get a really good number. Remember, you guys can subscribe to Pickett Sports using promo code PropQueen. It's free. Get the best numbers in all the market, and it helps you to find the best numbers. If you want to do an SGP, it'll tell you the best book to get that at. You can also subscribe to Props.Cash, which you just saw us with the Austin Reeves numbers. You can use that. Promo code PropQueen gets you 50% off the first month. Use promo code PropQueen. You can be eligible to get some free merch as well. And then you get, it's like $9 if you end up subscribing to Props.Cash. You also could subscribe to the PropQueen.com newsletter and get all these picks to your inbox, so you don't need to watch and listen to me for a full hour if you don't want to. But we do appreciate, well, I appreciate that you guys do watch the show. So subscribe to the YouTube page. You get this all for free on the YouTube page. And I cut all these clips up and I post them to YouTube at the Prop Queen Sports YouTube page so that you guys could see all of this. And I've got a big announcement hopefully on Monday. I hope we have a big announcement on Monday. I'm like trying to finalize a deal, and it's a really big deal. It's actually something that I've been working on since launching the show in March, and I'm hoping that it's finally done. Contracts are so annoying in this industry, and it's going to be really, I'll have a whole speech on Monday if it actually ends up getting signed and sealed and delivered, this contract. I've been working hard, and I am so happy that you guys have all been a part of this journey, and I'm just trying my best to keep you all along for the ride with me. You guys in the chat are freaking awesome, and I'm just really excited because it's really hard, and I know that like sometimes sponsors just pop up and you just assume that they're just a sponsor, but it's really hard to get sponsors in this business. It's really hard to get people to pay you for your work and to believe in you and pay you for yourself. I've only ever had to work with people in the market and TV networks, and now getting people to buy into what you're trying to do is a whole nother ballgame. And I think we finally got someone to buy in. So I'm really excited. And I hope that by tomorrow we have this thing signed. So on Monday, we will hopefully be able to debut and talk about the next big partner that's going to be on the show and for the show. Appreciate you all. Hope that sends you off on a good weekend. I hope you all have a very profitable weekend. And we'll see you Monday here on the Prop Queen Pod.